Good morning to all. Now we are going to discuss about the subject basic thermodynamics, and let us see some introduction and some definitions and overall view of basic thermodynamics. So the contents to be covered in this topic are: first one is the definition of thermodynamics and what is the importance of thermodynamics, definitions of systems and the different types of systems, extensive and intensive properties of a system. So what is the state of a system and which variables we are taking as a state variables, and what is the state function. So all these we are going to discuss. And also process, types of process, internal energy and change in internal energy, enthalpy and change in enthalpy, entropy and change in entropy, and next again laws of thermodynamics. So first coming to a definition of thermodynamics. So actually thermodynamics is the science of energy transfer and its effect on the physical properties of the substance. So that means it is based on the observations of common experience which have been formulated into thermodynamic laws. These laws governs the principles of energy conversion. Okay, actually the applications of thermodynamic laws and principles are observed in all the fields of energy technology, that is in nuclear power plants, steam power plants, IC engines, gas turbines, air conditioning, refrigeration, gas dynamics, jet propulsion, chemical process plants. Like that, in all areas, we can see the application of the laws of the thermodynamics. So coming to thermodynamics, it means flow of heat in physical and chemical reaction. So one of the definition of thermodynamics is flow of heat in physical and chemical reactions, and it deals with the study of different forms of energy and their conversion from one form to another form and how they convert. We also deal with that. Okay. Next, it deals with the energy changes in physical and chemical processes also. And what is the importance of thermodynamics? So this thermodynamics is used in all the areas, thermal, chemical. If you take chemical, it is used to predict whether any chemical reaction can occur under specific conditions or not, and it is used how much extent the chemical reaction has been produced before the equilibrium state is reached. Or if you take mechanical, how much at which state the system is there before the equilibrium has reached. Like that we can predict that reactions and use it to derive the important laws like laws of equilibrium. And coming to the different terms that are used in thermodynamics, so these terms are very frequently used in thermodynamics. So the first one is system. So a system is defined as a quantity of matter or a region of space upon which our concentration is focused. While we are analyzing some problem, the area upon which our concentration is focused is known as a system. Okay. So everything external to the system may be taken as surroundings or the environment. So system may be defined in another two ways, as it may be defined as a part of universe selected for the thermodynamic considerations. That means if they complete this universe, the only area upon which our analysis is concentrated, that part is called as system. So in that part only, we will study the effect of temperature, pressure and different variables. And another way of defining the system is, so it may also be defined as a specific part of universe in which energy changes are taking place. So we can observe some energy changes in the specific part of the universe. And what are the different terms used in thermodynamics? So first, if you take surroundings, so we are told that the area of interest we call it as system, and everything external to the system we will call it as surroundings. And that means universe means system and surroundings together we will call as universe. Okay. So this system and surroundings are separated with the help of a boundary called as imaginary boundary, and we will call it as boundary. So this is the system. So if you consider this complete whole thing as one universe, the area upon which our concentration is focused, this area we call it as system, and everything external to the system is considered as surroundings, and this system and surroundings are separated by boundary, and we will assume that it is an imaginary boundary. So we are representing this boundary with a dotted line here, and this dotted line is called boundary, which separates system and surroundings. So coming to the types of system, we have seen here the system. So there are different types of systems in a universe. So mainly there are three classes of system. Those are open system, closed system, and isolated system. So let us see the systems one by one. So if you take this is the open system. So open system means here, this is an open system. So the open system is one in which the matter crosses the boundary here. Is one in which the matter crosses the boundary as well as the energy also crosses the boundary. That means a closed system in which there is both mass transfer into the system and mass transfer out of the system, and energy transfer into the system and energy transfer out of the system. Then we will say that it is an open system. So here the mass and energy can be exchanged with the surroundings. That means, for example, if you take a water in a vessel, or if you take a hot tea in an open cup, what happens is there will be both mass transfer and heat transfer. Okay, so the hot tea can be poured to outside, and that heat, that means there is a mass transfer, and that heat can be sensible. That means there is an energy transfer. That means heat is a form of energy. So both the mass transfer, mass of tea or mass of water can be flow outside, and that heat can be sensed here with our hands. Or the vapor may be come outside as vapors. The hotness may be come outside as a vapor. So there will be both the mass transfer and heat transfer in from the system and out of the system. So we will call it as a open system. And next, coming to closed system. A closed system is a system of fixed mass. Okay. So this is the system of fixed mass, and there is no mass transfer across the system already. So there will be no mass transfer into the system or from the system. There will be only energy transfer into the system and out of the system, and we will say this as a closed system. So coming to the definition, in a closed system, there is only the exchange of energy with the surroundings. That is, no exchange of mass will take place. Okay, only the exchange of energy will take place. For example, if the water is placed in a closed vessel, what happens is, or a closed heat top, if you place a lid, that vapor will touches the lid and again goes back into the vessel. That means there is no evaporation of water takes place. That means there is no mass going out of the cup or any vessel. Only the heat can be sensed with our hands. So there is only energy transfer from the system or to the system. So if there is only energy transfer into the system or from the system, and if there is no mass transfer, then we will say that the system is a closed system. So next one is isolated system. Isolated system means there is no mass transfer into the system or out of the system, or there is no heat transfer. That means the isolated system is one in which there is no interaction between the system and the surroundings. So it is of fixed mass and energy, and there is no mass of or energy transfer across the system boundary. Example, if we place the water in a vessel and we close the vessel, what happens is there is no mass transfer. And if we insulate the vessel also with the thermo flask or anything, so the heat transfer cannot be sensed with our hands. So there is no mass transfer or any heat transfer. So then we will call that as a isolated system. So if a system is defined as a certain quantity of matter, then the system contains the same matter, as then there can be no transfer of mass across its boundary. However, if a system is defined as a region of space within a prescribed boundary, then the matter can cross the system boundary, while the former is called as closed system and the latter is an open system. Okay. So some of the examples of open system are air compressor, in which the air enters at low pressure and leaves at high pressure, and there are energy transfers across the system boundary. So that is an example of open system. Whereas for the closed system, example is a certain quantity of fluid in a cylinder bounded by a system, it constitutes a closed system. So this is the isolated system in which there is no interaction between system and surroundings. That means there is no mass transfer and there is no heat transfer. So another terms that are used in thermodynamics are, so classification of the system can be done on the basis of whether it is a homogeneous mixture or homogeneous system or heterogeneous system. So a quantity of matter homogeneous throughout its chemical composition and physical structure is called as phase. Okay. So every substance, any substance in the universe can exist in either solid phase or liquid phase or gaseous phase. Okay. A system consisting of a single phase throughout the system is called as homogeneous system, while a system consisting of more than one phase is called as heterogeneous system. So here, so it is uniform throughout and it consists of only one phase, and whereas in heterogeneous system it contains two or more phases. Okay, so it cannot be in one state, so it will call it as heterogeneous system. And coming to the properties, there are intensive properties and extensive properties of the system. So intensive properties are the properties which do not depend on the size of the system or the quantity of matter in it, and they are dependent on the nature of the substance present. For example, pressure, temperature, density, and surface tensions are taken as intensive properties. So they are independent of mass. So they will not depend on mass of the system. Then we call it as intensive properties. Next, coming to extensive properties. Extensive properties depend on the mass. Okay. So the properties which depends on the mass are called as extensive properties. Example, volume will depends on mass, and the energy, heat capacity, all these will depend on mass. So these are termed as extensive properties. So next, state of a system and state variables. So they are the we will say, if we want to define a system, we need certain variables. For example, if we say that the system is at a particular temperature, particular pressure, if you take any body or any system or anything in the universe, if we want to define that system, we have to mention its temperature. What is its temperature in terms of thermodynamics point of view? We have to maintain that body should maintain some temperature, pressure, volume, etc. So these variables are the measurable properties of the system, and these properties are used to define the state of the system. Okay, so these are called as the state variables. Temperature, pressure, volume, etc. All these are called the state variables, and these state variables are used to define the condition of the system. Okay. Next one is, so the properties of the system are temperature, pressure, volume. When changed, the system also changes. These are called as the state variables. Okay. Next, coming to state function. Here it is defined as the property whose values depends only upon the state of the system, and it is independent. That means state function, in state functions, the property or the system depends on the state at which the system lies. It does not depend on the path that is traveled. Okay, so if any property, that means either temperature, pressure, or any property, all the properties are taken on as state functions because they are independent of the path traveled. Okay, for example, if a person is standing on the roof of a building, so if a person stands on the roof of a building, so that person has a fixed value of potential energy. Okay, and the potential energy of the person does not depend whether he has reached there by stairs or by lift. What is the path he traveled, it is not depending upon that. So we only know that he had some potential energy because he is at a certain height. Okay, that means the potential energy there is a property of that person. So it does not depending on the path he traveled, either he went by stairs or by lift. Okay, so that is called as a state function. That means it does not depending upon the path followed, it depends only on the state of the system. So examples are potential energy, pressure, volume, temperature, and internal energy are taken as state functions. Coming to the process, when the state of a system changes from one point to another point, so from initial state to final state, then we will say that there is a process is said to occur. So the first state is called as initial state and the last state is called as final state. So if you take this, if you draw a PV diagram, so this is the initial state. So it undergoes certain process, that means the pressure decreases and the volume increases. So the final state 2 is reached. That means this state is changed from this point to this point. Then we will say that if you join all the points, this is called as one process. Similarly, this is another process, another process. These are called as process. If we join the path of the change of the states of a system, we will say that the process has occurred. So process can be defined as process gives us the path by which the system changes from one state to other. And there are certain processes in which a particular state variable is kept constant. So next, coming to types of process. So there are different types of process, that means constant temperature process, constant volume process, constant temperature process, which we call it as isothermal process, and adiabatic process, polytropic process. All these are different processes occurred when the system changes from state 1 to state 2. So let us see here some of the process. Let us see at a glance. First one, if we take isothermal process means the process which occurred at by taking temperature as constant. Okay, so heat can flow from the system to the surroundings and as well as from the surroundings to the system in order to keep the temperature as constant in this particular type of process. Okay, so isothermal process is defined as the process in which the temperature of the system remains constant and the heat can flow from the system to the surroundings and vice versa. That means from the surroundings to system also in order to keep the temperature as constant. So this is the isothermal process. So here at this point, this is the value of pressure and it is the value of volume. So this is the pressure P1 and this is the volume V1. So when it occurs, when isothermal process takes place, so state 1 is changed to state 2. Okay, that means the pressure P1 is changed to pressure P2 and volume V1 is changed from volume V1 to V2, but the temperature remains constant. So this process is called as isothermal process. Next, coming to adiabatic process, a system is said to be or a process is said to be an adiabatic process when the system does not exchange any heat with the surroundings. That means there is no transfer of heat energy from the system to the surroundings or from the surroundings to the system. So that means A system is completely insulated or isolated from the surroundings without any interaction. Next, coming to isochoric process. So isochoric process is also called as constant volume process. Okay. In this process, the volume of the system remains constant. And isobaric process is the process where the pressure remains constant during the process. And the cyclic process. So a system is said to undergo a cycle when the initial state is equal to final state. That means it undergoes a series of states such that initial state should be equal to final state. Then we will say that it is one thermodynamic cycle. So this is a thermodynamic cycle here. So here, this is the starting point. So it undergoes one phase, one process here, reaches to second state, and undergoes another process, reaches to third state, undergoes another process, reaches to fourth state, and after finally it reaches again to initial process. This completely comprises of one cycle, and we will call that cycle as thermodynamic cycle. Next, coming to reversible process. So reversible process is a process which takes place very slowly. Okay, very slowly, such that all the changes occurring in the process can be reversed. That means if we go in reverse direction also, the same changes in state should be observed between the system and the surroundings, and the surroundings remains in a state of equilibrium. So we will take this reversible process as an ideal process and cannot be exist anywhere. So actual process, generally all the actual process are irreversible in nature, but for our easiness, we will take all the process to be assumed as reversible process. And coming to the irreversible process, changes is brought about rapidly and system does not attain equilibrium. The forces which drives the reactants towards the products are greater than the opposing forces which is to carry in the reverse direction, such that means if the process takes place when the state changes from state 1 to state 2, so in the reverse direction, what happens is the same path we will not follow. That means all the actual process are generally taken as irreversible process. And next, coming to spontaneous process. So spontaneous process may be defined as the process in which the process which takes by itself or initiation is called a spontaneous process. That means evaporation of water in an open vessel can take place spontaneously without any external aid. When we heat water, what happens is water is converting to steam spontaneously. Okay, we will call that process as spontaneous process. Or if you put a salt in a water, it will solve by itself without any external stirring, etc. So dissolution of salt in water is also a spontaneous process. And if water is flowing from a certain height, the water will flow under gravity by itself. So the flow of water down a hill will be taken as a spontaneous process. So which takes by initiate. Combination of oxygen and hydrogen to form water is also taken as a spontaneous process. And lighting of a candle is initiated by ignition. Okay, so these are taken with the help of some initiation. So these are called as initiation process. And non-spontaneous processes are, it is the process which cannot take place by itself for initiation. Okay, that means examples are flow of heat from a cold body to hot body. That means flow of heat can easily taken from hot body to cold body. So by nature itself, the heat is transferred from higher temperature body to lower temperature body. But the flow of heat from a cold body to a hot body needs some initiation. Okay, so it is a non-spontaneous process. And flow of water from downwards to upwards, the hill is needs some initiation. So it is a non-spontaneous process. And dissolution of sand in water will not take place, and it is also will be considered as a non-spontaneous process. And some thermodynamic quantities we have to study. Those are, first one, internal energy. So every system we have taken is associated with a certain amount of energy, which we call it as an internal energy of the system. So internal energy means it depends upon several factors. Okay, first one is it depends on temperature, and next it depends on pressure, and also it depends on the chemical nature of the substances. Okay, so that internal energy is an extensive property of the system. We will take the internal energy of the system as an extensive property of the system, and the energy that is stored within the system is taken as internal energy of that system. That means when a body is transferred from one state to another state, or if we apply any external force, so after the complete transformation, some amount of energy is stored within the system. We will call that energy as internal energy of the system. That means the energy that is stored within the system. So next, change in internal energy. So the change in internal energy in a chemical reaction is the difference between the internal change in products of the system minus change in reactants of the system. So this difference between the products and reactants is denoted with delta E or delta U, and we will call that change as internal energy. So if the change is zero, that means that there is no stored energy within the system. That means there is no internal energy within the body. So if there is any energy that is stored in the system, we say that system is has some internal energy. And coming to the enthalpy or heat content of a system may be defined as the sum of internal energy here. So if we can write here E or U. Okay, so the sum of the internal energy and this PV work, that means product of pressure and volume. So these two sum we can take it as enthalpy. So where E is the internal energy of the system, P is the pressure, and V is the volume of the system. So if you take specific enthalpy, that means these are extensive properties. So intensive properties means independent of mass. That means we have to divide, if you divide this total enthalpy capital H by mass, we will get the specific enthalpy small h. Okay, and internal energy, specific internal energy, and P is a flow work. So change in enthalpy can be defined as the difference in enthalpies of the products and the difference in enthalpies of reactants. Similar to the change in internal energy, we can calculate the change in enthalpy also. And next, coming to entropy. Entropy is the measure of randomness or disorderness of the system. And the greater, if there is a greater randomness or greater disorder is there in the system, then we will say there is entropy is very high. Okay, for example, entropy of a crystalline substance is minimum in the solid state and maximum in the gaseous state. So for example, if we take melting of ice here, so there will be large disorderness here. So melting of an ice is an example of increasing of entropy. So some thermodynamic quantities are entropy means it is denoted with the letter S, and it is and it depends on temperature and increases with an increase in temperature. And the change in entropy is equal to the here the change in, according to the second law of thermodynamics, Q is heat transfer is equal to temperature into change in entropy. From that, we can write change in entropy as Q reversible. That means heat transfer occurs reversibly by temperature change. Okay, so the change in entropy is equal to the heat absorbed isothermally and reversibly during a process divided by its absolute temperature at which the heat is absorbed. So coming to the laws of thermodynamics, there are 4 laws of thermodynamics. First one is zeroth law of thermodynamics, first law of thermodynamics, second law of thermodynamics, and third law of thermodynamics. Coming to zeroth law of thermodynamics, when two bodies, if you take two bodies separately which are in thermal equilibrium with the third body separately, then we will say that the first and the third bodies are also in equilibrium with each other. Okay, so this is the statement of zeroth law of thermodynamics. And coming to the first law of thermodynamics, so according to the first law of thermodynamics, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. Only the energy can transfer from or converted from one form to another form. And the total energy of the universe remains constant, although if the transformation of the energy takes place from one form to the another form. For example, if you take an isolated system, the energy of an isolated system remains constant. So the first law of the thermodynamics can be represented using this equation delta U is equal to Q plus W. So delta U is the change in internal energy, Q is the heat energy, and W is the work done. Coming to the second law of thermodynamics, all the spontaneous or naturally occurring processes are irreversible in nature. So without the help of any external agencies, a spontaneous process cannot be reversed thermodynamically, and the entropy of an isolated system must increase if it is to be spontaneous. Next, another points for second law of thermodynamics are in a non-isolated system, that means where there will be a transfer of energies in and out of the system from the surroundings to the system or to the system, from the system to the surroundings. The total energy of both the system and the surroundings must be increased or it must be positive. It should not be negative. The negative means there is a loss of energy. Okay. And next one is the total entropy of the universe must tend to increase in a spontaneous process. For example, if you take the total entropy, it should be equal to the entropy of the system and the entropy of the surroundings. Coming to the third law of thermodynamics, the entropies of all perfectly crystalline solids may be taken as zero at the absolute temperature. That means if you take it absolute temperature and if you take the perfectly crystalline solids, the entropy of all the systems at that particular temperature is taken as zero. That means at a particular absolute temperature, a perfectly crystalline solid has a perfect order. That means we will say that entropy is maximum when the disorderness is maximum. But if you take a perfectly crystalline solid, there is no disorderness in that crystalline solid. That means disorderness is reduced, it means we will say that entropy is reduced. So if it is perfect means the entropy is zero. Okay. That means at some absolute zero temperature only it will happen. Okay. So at absolute zero, a perfectly crystalline solid has a perfect order of its constituent particles, that is no disorderness at all. So hence we will say that there is no entropy. That means entropy is taken as zero in that process. And actually the second law, when the first law of thermodynamics was stated in terms of cycles first, And it was shown that cyclic integral of heat is equal to cyclic integral of work. So when the first law was applied for a thermodynamic process, the existence of a property, the internal energy, was found. Similarly, second law of thermodynamics was first stated in terms of cycles executed by the system. When applied to the process, the second law also lead to the definition of a new property known as entropy. Okay, if the first law is said to be the law of internal energy, the second law is said to be stated with the law of entropy. Okay, so that means in thermodynamics is the study of completely three E's. First one is energy, and second one is equilibrium, and third one is entropy. Okay, and here we can also see that the change in entropy is zero when there is no disorderness at all. Okay, that means entropy, if you take isolated system, the entropy of an isolated system can never decreases. It always increases and remains constant only when the process is reversible. So this is also known as principle of increase in entropy, or simply an entropy principle. So it is the quantitative general statement of second law from the macroscopic point of view. Okay. So for example, an isolated system can always be formed by including any system in its surroundings with a single boundary. Sometimes the original system, which is then only a part of isolated system, is called as a subsystem. Here the system and the surroundings together, we will take an universe. System surrounding together include everything which is affected by the process. For all possible process that a system in a given surroundings can undergo, so change in entropy with respect to system will be greater than surroundings. Universe means, that means change in system entropy for the system plus change in entropy for the surroundings. So entropy may decrease locally at some region within the isolated system, but it must be compensated by a greater increase in entropy somewhere else. So coming to the applications of entropy principle, so the principle of increasing in entropy is one of the most important laws of physical science. So it is the quantitative statement of second law of thermodynamics, and every irreversible process is accompanied by entropy increase of the universe, and this entropy increase quantifies the extent of irreversibility of the process. The higher the entropy increase of the universe, the higher will be the irreversibility of the process. Okay, and the transfer of heat to a finite temperature difference is also an example of change in entropy. Mixing of two fluids is also an example of change in entropy. Okay, so this is about this third law, and thank you.